Don't forget Viva San Rocco, the San Rocco Festival coming to Aliquippa this weekend. And next week, all of my friends in Bloomfield getting ready for Little Italy Days, including the huckster. He is none other than Pete Mackey, brother Mark and company. And yes, Maria Moranti's Gifts, and the whole crew will be there. Celebrity Bocce next Thursday. And guess who will be there? Bruno Sammartino, ladies and gentlemen, and Boom Boom Mancini, the Costa family, everyone going to be hanging out in Bloomfield. Now, we're going to talk a little golf, and here he is once again, the great teaching pro at the Fox Chapel Golf Club, joining me on the Comcast Sports Line. He'll be with us this Sunday at noon on the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh News Line on the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday Show. He is Alex Childs. Good evening, Alex.
Good evening. How are you doing, Rob?
I am great, and my man, Hideki Matsuyama, and I told everyone that this guy was the real deal, and he got himself a nice win at the World Golf Championships, the Bridgestone Invitational Championship. So happy about that. He's going to start it off with Ernie Els and Ian Poulter, 7:45 tomorrow morning. Jordan Spieth is going to be with Brooks Koepka, the U.S. Open champion, and Sergio Garcia, the Masters champion, at 8:25. Rory McIlroy, who shot a round of 61 a few years ago at Quail Hollow, along with Rickie Fowler and John Rahm, who is the surefire Rookie of the Year, I believe. They're going to get it together and tee off at 1:35. TNT, CBS with the coverage throughout the weekend. So tell me a little bit about this course. Founded in 1959 and opened in 61, and it's been modified many times, as I said earlier today, including the great Arnold Palmer modified it in 1986. And a lot of people thinking Hideki Matsuyama coming off that win, but there is others who have said that Rory McIlroy could actually win this thing because he's had a lot of success there in the past, and this is a course that he seems to like a whole lot. And he's coming off a tremendous performance this past weekend at Firestone Country Club in Akron. So early thoughts, and let's talk about the course, and then we'll get into some of the players, Alex.
Well, I think, the course itself is, listed at about 7,500 yards, which is a very long golf course, and they've had some inclement weather, so it's playing even longer. And then, we've talked about this before in several of these events in the past, that once you put those two elements together, you sort of eliminate part of the field and then have just that smaller group of long hitters and accurate, and the players in the past like Johnson and McIlroy and Matsuyama, Dustin Johnson, John Rahm, all those individuals just come right into play. So I would be surprised if they're not involved again, just based on all the things I've heard about the water and how much it's really stayed wet. So that they would come right into play. I know the golf course itself overall has changed quite a bit. They've done many changes. They've had the PGA Tour there for the last 7 to 10 years, and every year they're making ongoing changes. So it's definitely something everybody's familiar with. And again, you have that type of length, and you start playing into those long off the tee players that can carry it 300 yards.
I always do my homework whenever I spend time with you, because I appreciate your very valuable time and your knowledge. Quail Hollow, Charlotte, North Carolina, founded, as I mentioned, in 59, opened in 61, modified a number of times. Arnold Palmer, we talked about, in 86. First ever major there. The home of the Kemper Open in 1969 for many years thereafter. Senior Tour event, the Payne Weber, 83 to 89. 2003 to 16, the Wells Fargo Championship. 17th green, nearly an island hole everyone talks about. But the great thing about this, and this is what I love, is the space. And they're expecting, Alex, 50,000 people on Sunday, and that's great for the game of golf.
Yeah, and it's exciting. Charlotte's a great city. Very, golf enthusiastic there, with all the different places that you can play, and it's almost an all year-round weather type of city in terms of golf. So that's terrific, and they've supported that tour event over the last many years, so I'm sure that they will get that number. And like I mentioned, the way it's been going over the last several years there, that those types of winners have been there, and I wouldn't be surprised if the McIlroys and the top players in the world aren't leading the field.
The 28-year-old Irishman, when I tuned in on Saturday for the third round, by the time he was done that day, 38 out of 42 drives over 300 yards, looking very strong. He shot a 11 under 61 here in 2015. Been a while since he's won a major. Obviously, the PGA, he's won it twice. So he's kind of a favorite, no doubt. So just your thoughts about Rory McIlroy, who finished fourth last week. 4 majors, none since his second victory at the PGA in 2014. That he won by 1 stroke. over Phil Mickelson. So let's talk Rory McIlroy, Alex.
Well, I think that he's one of those players. I don't know on the top of your top 5 or top 10 list of players, but he's one of these players that I've talked about that I'm surprised that he doesn't win more. He's that good. There's been some physical issues before. I don't know all the specifics of his training regimen, or has had a bad score for a hole. He can easily come back. It's just hard to imagine someone that successful, that good, doesn't win more often, which obviously is what makes golf so difficult. But I would have thought at this point he had won more. Again, there's only a few great players that we'll ever see again, and I think he's one of those guys that, in order for him to reach that list, he needs to start doing this here soon, because he has players like Jordan Spieth and Dustin Johnson that are right after him.
All right, Jordan Spieth, he's number 2 FedEx point standings, Travelers Championship, the Open Championship, and Dustin Johnson, number 1 ranked player in the world. His back, that's still a question, but he looks okay. 8th at the RBC Canadian Open, 17th last week, 3rd point in the standings. So you talked about Jordan Spieth and Dustin Johnson a little bit. Let's move on now to Hideki Matsuyama. As I mentioned, winner of the Bridgestone Invitational World Golf Championship. 3 wins this year and 3 second-place finishes. You got to say he's probably one of the hottest golfers on the tour right now.
He is, and we've mentioned him before when some of these other events have come on. He's very consistent. He's won a World Golf. This is the 2nd World Golf Championship I think that he's won overall. I really like the pause at the top of his swing. It's almost like he's making a decision at the top of the swing before he even hits it. He has such a delay there, but he's extremely smooth. And I think again, Firestone is very narrow. It's up and down. It does not have much flavor to the golf course, but very long. And for you to hit it that straight and that far, it may feel like Quail Hollow's, an airport runway being so wide compared to those fairways at Firestone.
All right, let's move on now. Rickie Fowler, tied for 2nd, Pinehurst U.S. Open, tied for 2nd, the Open Championship, Royal Liverpool. That's the best he has done in majors. 10th right now after winning the Honda Championship. He's got to cash in soon in the majors to continue to be looked upon as one of the best young golfers in the world. So I don't want to say it's now or never, but better late than never, and it would be a nice place for him to cash in at Quail Hollow this weekend.
Correct. And he's a terrific player, and I think he's in a really odd spot because he came in after Rory McIlroy, before Jordan Spieth. He falls along, with some of these other younger players, and he hasn't won. He's 28, so there is plenty of time. And how these things fold together are always unique. I mean, it was very hard to predict or when to know that Phil Mickelson would win. Now it feels like 5 championships that he's won or majors is fine. We don't really seem to make any changes there. We find that to be okay, but there was a moment where everybody was waiting for him to win. So, these things happen. He's an excellent player, one of the great players playing right now. So, this event he could win as well as any others we've mentioned in the last year.
All right, we're at Cassidy Manuel talking golf, Comcast Sportsline, the teaching pro at the beautiful Fox Chapel, one of the most historic courses in our region. He is Alex Childs, who will be with us Sunday at noon on the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday Show. Brooks Koepka, big hitter, U.S. Open winner, also 6 top 10 out of 25 starts this year on the tour. Paul Casey, 18th in the world, 24th in the FedEx point standings, 3rd at St. Andrews back in 2010. That rookie that we talked about, John Rahm, 6th in the world rankings, cinched to be the PGA Rookie of the Year. Everything but a run at a major this year. He obviously won as well, the Farmers Insurance Open in February and also the Irish Open. We talked about him. Now let's talk about the man from down under who lives in Columbus, Jason Day. Only 2 top finishes this year on the PGA Tour. I'd surely like to see him get back on track. Do you see any signs of that, Alex?
Well, I think, he's gone through these physical issues that he's had and he's recovering, and one of the things we don't know is to what degree he has been struggling with all of that. And again, just like any athlete, anyone in trying to be the top of their performance, with something slightly awry, it does affect them. And he seems to have rounds, within his tournaments that he's done very well, and then he struggles. And so, again, he's won this event before, so those are always good things to recall back when you're playing in an event and knowing that you can continue to do that and be successful. So I know he's able to do it. He certainly hits it far enough, and he can putt. So there's no issues there. Now, a lot of the times when you compare all these individuals, it's just their mental preparation. And one of the things you and I both don't know is what's actually going on between the ears. And when we find some of those things out, it explains very well. And what makes the Tiger Woods and the Jack Nicklaus and some of these individuals, Arnold Palmer, so extraordinary was what was going on and how their fortitude withstood any of their physical or other challenges, and that's what made them great.
And he has not won since the Valero Open in 2016, tied for 20th at the Open, second at the RBC, third at the Bridgestone. So Charlie Hoffman, we'll end on that note. Your thoughts?
Charlie Hoffman's a terrific player. I've actually walked with him years ago in a tournament. He is one of these guys that you follow around. He's not prodigious in his distance. He's very accurate. You finished the round and you asked kind of how did he play, and he shot 69 or 68, and you weren't even sure he had a pulse. He was so low key and seemed to be right on path. So he's a terrific player. He's not going to play himself out of it. You know, the challenges that he has, and he's a fairly long hitter. I think he's probably in the 280, 290 distances. There's some of these other gentlemen that can just hit it that much further and can kind of get on a roll. Those are things you can't stop. But that's a good call. You know, I was thinking of that. You're right on. I agree with you. He would be a terrific first-time winner.
All right, again, tomorrow and Friday, 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. TNT, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. TNT, 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. CBS with the great Jim Nance and his crew, and Mr. Nance will be back Sunday as well, but it'll be TNT from 11 until 2 p.m., and then CBS from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Of course, that's KDKA TV2, Channel 2 in Pittsburgh. Alex, we'll talk to you Sunday. I'm always grateful for your time. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a good evening.
Good night from Cassidy Manuel.